Hi classmates, it's Hannah Cooper and I am super excited to share my research proposal with you guys today. I first want to say thank you to my classmates as well as Dr. Bailey for just all of the awesome feedback that you've given me throughout this course to really just be able to set this research proposal up for success. And so I'm really excited to talk about my topic today, which is going to be focusing on the criticism that sports journalists receive. And so this topic is something very near to my heart. I spent 6 years in the sports media industry. I served as a communications director in the athletics space, specifically in college athletics, before deciding to transition into teaching at my alma mater and now working towards my doctorate. And so this topic is something that has affected me personally and something that I've seen in a day-to-day real life kind of setting. Also, just on a little bit more of a lighthearted note, I'm a really big Braves fan, and so we're specifically going to look at MLB sports broadcasters because I'm a massive Braves fan. I have a golden doodle named Turner, named after Turner Field, and so this area specifically looking in the MLB is really important to me because it's something that just piques my interest in general. I was a really big Kelsey Wingert fan who used to be somebody that broadcasted Braves games down on the sideline that the Braves ended up letting go, and then she moved on to work with the Colorado Rockies, and so she's somebody I have followed very closely in my personal experience, and so I thought this would be really fun and interesting as it's something that just perks my day-to-day interest. Like I said, a big Braves fan and something I follow along with, and so just super excited to share that passion with you guys and just my desire to add research into this space. And so this really comes out of the fact that The Guardian posted a news article talking about Teresa Thompson after she came out and said that she had been falsifying sideline reports. And very quickly, major female sports journalists in the industry called her out because they said that we had worked so hard in this industry to gain the credibility that our male counterparts get. And then when you announce that you're falsifying your sideline reports, you are hurting all of the work that women in the industry have done to get to where they're at. And so that is really the kind of things that sparked my interest for this topic. And so really what I want to take a look at is how women face different types of criticism than their male counterparts in the industry and how it affects their public perception as well as their own desires and ideas on self-image. I think it's really important to see how these different types of criticisms affect self-identity as well as just desires to remain in the industry. And the problem really comes down to the fact that women are subjected to criticisms that are based on their appearance or their perceived intentions rather than their actual work efforts like their male counterparts. Current research in the industry is largely focused around women's sports perception, and so how a women's sport versus a men's sport is perceived in the eyes of the public, as well as women's sports bylines. What types of authors, male or female, are going to be on a women's sports byline? One of the current research articles that really sparked my interest here was Side by Side in Sports Reporters, a between subjects experiment of the effect of gender in reporting on the NFL. And this is going to be some current research that wanted to look into how male and female sports journalists were perceived. And so they did a side-by-side broadcast stand-up that they then showed to viewers to see which one they found more credible. And so this kind of started my desire for this research because current research is really focused around how women's sports are perceived as well as how female sports journalists are perceived, specifically in the NFL. And so I thought that this research, taking a look at the types of criticisms that female sports broadcasters in the Major League Baseball receive, could add valuable research into other national leagues that the United States has. And then I also think it's really important to take a look at how these criticisms affect sports journalists, which is why I think doing this as a qualitative study that includes interviews is really important, because not only do we see this happening and want to know how the public thinks about it, but also how does this affect people wanting to enter the industry? And so I really focused around three main research questions. What areas do female sports journalists most commonly receive criticism on through social media? And then my second, how does social media criticism affect female sports journalists' perception of self? And then my last one, how does social media criticism affect female sports journalists' willingness to stay or enter the sports media industry? And so my literature reviews focused around social identity theory. And while social identity theory was originally focused in social psychology, it's become so important in the communications field as people try to have a better understanding of how social identity theory affects our day-to-day communications. And one of the really big authors in this space is going to be Jake Harwood, and he takes a look at how social identity theory defines what types of media we consume. And basically he found that social identity theory makes it so that people want to consume media that best fits their needs. And this plays really largely into the sports journalist field as people choose the types of media and the types of people that they receive this from due to what fits their needs best. And then social identity theory also helps explain how being anonymous empowers people. And so social media has this unique ability that you're able to interact with people without seeing those interactions and the consequences of those interactions. And social identity theory kind of explains how people that are a part of the out group or people who are typically not empowered enough to openly speak about these things are able to do so behind the comfort of being anonymous on social media. And so when we take a look at my methodology for this research proposal, I want to do qualitative interviews with people from different Major League Baseball divisions. And so that way it's going to be something that we're going to have to do purposeful sampling with, making sure that we pick people from all different areas of Major League Baseball, as well as somebody that has a strong social media following in which they can be receiving criticism on. And so these interviews will focus around what types of experience these female broadcasters have in the industry in receiving criticism, as well as how they feel, how they affect their perception of self, as well as their desire to stay in the industry and whether or not this deters when they enter the industry and if they stay in the industry. And then it's also important to take a look at social media posts and to do a review on the different types of comments to add that visual aid, the types of comments that these women are receiving through identifying social media posts that have these types of criticisms on them. So this research proposal is very exciting to me because it's something that I spent 6 years within in that realm of sports media and can see the effects. And so I'm super excited just to continue diving into this research on how women receive criticism in the industry, the different types of criticism that they receive, and ultimately how it affects their perception of self, their self-identity, and their willingness to stay or enter the industry. Thank you guys.